Hey guys, so welcome back. I actually just got back from this really special event out here in LA called the Come Up LA. It was downtown LA and it basically features like a good number of black vendors out in LA, and it was just so nice and so welcoming. And I actually went live. You guys have to check out my Facebook. I uploaded it to YouTube as well, so you guys can go back and check out that video. But man, it's awesome. It was my first time going there. From what I understand, like they host the event every other month. So it was my first time, but you guys have to check that out. It's some really nice stuff there. But this video here, y'all, I'm about to go in. I don't care. I'm about to go in. This video was actually inspired by this conversation I had on my Facebook page today, where just the other day I reposted actually this post where I stated that basically in the post I said I got my bachelor's degree in Florida, I got my master's degree in New York, and now I'm working towards my doctorate degree out here in LA. And I was like, just basically saying how amazing it has been, and God has taken me somewhere, and just kind of reminiscing over my life, right? Because my life has been like a major roller coaster. For you guys who have been following me for several years, you guys know that your girl been through some shit. And so, yes, I have to encourage myself sometimes and look back over my life and be like, wow, I'm already over halfway complete with my PhD. So it's just comforting for me. And so I shared that post, right, about me getting my bachelor's in Florida, my master's in New York, and my working towards my PhD in LA. And for the most part, people were very supportive and saying congratulations, that's what's up, give me my props, right? But it's always got to be some hate. And so this person, who happens to be an African-American male, gonna comment on my post and say, congratulations, sis, but don't let it define you. And I'm like, okay. He was like, it shouldn't define who you are. And so, I had to comment, right? Because I said, I kind of get what he's saying. But I say, in fact, my education has shaped who I am. It has played a very integral role in shaping the person who I am today. I can't ignore that. Because oftentimes people say, oh, well, this didn't make me. I always been this way. And yes, I can say, yes, I always been Danielle. But I cannot make it seem as though my education does not have an impact on who I am today, because it does. Considering the number of years I've spent in school. I've been like a lifelong student, and then when I eventually get my PhD and get licensed to become a doctor, that is going to shape who I am, my identity. So he's like, oh no, it doesn't shape you. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, what is he trying to say, right? And so then I was like, he said in his comment, it shouldn't shape you, and that's the problem with our society. We indulge in these superficial labels, and it impacts our relationships or something to that effect, saying that based on this superficiality, we kind of get sucked up into this whole idea of classism, and it impacts who we choose to become friends with or who we choose to date and form relationships with. And I'm like, okay, but what does this have to do with my post? Just because I'm reflecting back on my own success and giving myself props and just happy that I've made it this far in life, you go and draw this conclusion and make this assumption to say that I don't basically know who I am or whatever point he was trying to make. I'm like, nah, how does that apply to this post? He's like, oh, well, I'm not saying that you are guilty of this, but people do it. People get sucked up into these superficial identities. And I'm like, but still, how does that relate to this post? Because I feel like he was trying to go somewhere to say that just because I say that my education has shaped who I am, which it has, he felt some kind of way about that. He was like, oh no, it shouldn't shape you. I'm like, no, it does. I feel like it's a bi-directional relationship. So the person that I always been, the person that I was born to be, has obviously influenced my decision to pursue education, and then vice versa. Me going through school, getting my education, all these number of years that I've been in school, it has shaped me. It's a bi-directional influence. So I can't say that one is independent of the other, because it's not. I wouldn't be honest, you know. And what's up, y'all? Well, tell me what y'all think. Feel free to comment below. But I have some thoughts I want to share on that conversation. And so I said, no, not exactly. I say, I, as an intellectual person, am attracted to other intellectuals regardless of their educational background, right? So then he go to say, oh, you just proved my point, especially when your comment, quote unquote, regardless of their educational background. I'm like, first of all, what is your point? What are you trying to say? Like, I'm not even trying to argue with you. You know, like I said, I understand part of what he was saying, but then he went on to say that it didn't shape me. I'm like, no, it does shape me. It does make a difference, right? He tried to make it sound like, oh, it's just not significant, it's not important. And then he was like, you earned those achievements. That's one thing, but those achievements don't make you who you are. And I'm like, let's let's reanalyze that, because on one hand, I'm going to make the argument that no, our experiences in life do make us who we are. And they do set us apart. And they do determine our relationships and friendships that we have with other people. You can't just say, oh, person goes and becomes a doctor, or they go and become this multimillionaire, that is not going to impact who they are. It does. People oftentimes say, oh, well, I'm always going to be hood. You know, I'm always going to be the same person. When I get money, I'm not going to change. And on one hand, yes, you can still be who you are at your core. But for the most part, I think it's not so much that the person changes, but the people's perception of that person changes. You know, because for him to even have this opinion on me just based on me stating that I've earned these degrees and I'm now working towards my PhD, like, he's already has this perception of me. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, how out of nowhere you go to say or assume that I'm saying that my identity has changed because I have these degrees? Like, he just went all the way left and jumped to conclusions. And so he was like, oh, you just proved my point. I say, no, maybe he doesn't understand the difference between a person being an intellectual and a person, let's say, having a PhD. Because the two aren't necessarily the same. Yes, PhDs can be intellectuals, but not necessarily every person who is an intellectual necessarily has to have a PhD. Like, he just totally missed the point. Yes, I am drawn to other intellectuals. That's what attracts me. Like, I'm attracted to people who know how to have a conversation. But like I said, it doesn't mean that you have to have a PhD in order for me to be able to be attracted to you. In fact, which I didn't go to say this on the post because I kind of got irritated by him, because I felt like he just wanted to argue and he was trying to prove a point that didn't make no sense. That had no kind of logical basis on that particular post. I'm like, how can you make an assumption towards me based on what you think about other people, I guess, who have PhDs or who are educated? Like, you can't do that. You can't make no assumption towards me based on some other people that whatever. So I ended up just blocking his ass, because that's what I do. I'm like, I'm not about to sit up here and do this. Like, first of all, this post is supposed to be celebrating my success. And you want to come on here and tell me, oh, congratulations, sis, but try to throw in some stuff. Like, nah, dude. And then it's not even, I think what he said is how he said it. Like, why are black men so intimidated by a black woman's success? Why does it bother you when you see a black woman working to achieve something, or a black woman who's already achieved what she's worked hard for? Why does that bother you as a black man? And I figured possibly because his ass don't even have a degree. You know, I don't have anything against people who don't have degrees or who choose not to go to school. Like I say, I was going to add this point that I'm about to talk to you guys in a minute about on the post, but I'm like, for what? We're just going back and forth. He trying to prove his point. He's totally missing me. And it's just about arguing. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to show him that I get his point, but that has nothing to do with me. You know, and he steady just want to argue. So, oh, you just proved my point. Like, I didn't know that we were arguing, but okay, now that you want to present it as a debate, I end up just blocking him because I don't like that kind of negative energy on my posts. I don't do that. Don't bring your negative energy on my posts. I'm open to difference of opinion and all of that, but all of that back and forth and hostility and all of this shit, like, no. Because sometimes I realize people who come like that on people's posts, they only want to do that because that's just who they are. So that's the only time they want to comment is when they want to argue. Don't have anything positive to say. They just want to jump on your post just to argue. And I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, nah, just bye. I ended up blocking his ass. Like, fuck it. So he can still see my post, but he damn sure can't comment anymore. Because, nah, man, you about to get on my post making assumptions and drawing conclusions. Talking about, oh, this is how people are. Talking about, oh, I'm just giving a politically correct answer. I'm like, no, I don't have to be politically correct just to appease somebody. I'm be who I am, whether you like it or not. And I said that to say that, no, I'm attracted to intellectuals, not just people who are educated, but regardless of their education. And that's true. I wasn't saying that to be politically correct, as he suggested, you know. But as I was about to say, like, to that point, when you look at my previous relationships that I've had, my last relationship was 3 years. Before that, it was 5 years. And the other one was like 2 years. Neither one of my previous partners have degrees. Neither one of them were college educated. So to go and say that, oh, I'm just saying this to be politically correct and that's just not true. I'm just saying that just to... I don't have, like, what, why is it people online, like, this is what gets me. They just want to comment and say stuff just to start an argument, dude. Whatever you got going on, that's you, man. Don't come on my page with that shit. Because your ass going to be blocked and deleted. Like, I don't have time for it. I feel like I don't have anything to prove, but since you want to go there, maybe this is your way of wanting to learn more about me, but there's ways you can learn more about a person without necessarily having to assume stuff. So that you put them in a position only to correct themselves or to prove themselves or whatever, to correct you, to prove who they are. And I'm like, I don't like that. Don't sit up here and try to manipulate me into having to prove who I am or whatever. But I just feel like based on me saying that I had those degrees and I had working towards my PhD, that he just developed this conceptualization of who I am as a person. It's like, oh, don't let it define you. I'm like, first of all, it has shaped who I am. I can't ignore that. You know, and even going forward, like I said, people who are within a certain tax bracket or certain socioeconomic status, which education does change one's SES, socioeconomic status, it changes a lot about who that person is, how they eat, the foods they eat, where they live, their social circle, you know, where they shop. It changes a lot, where they bank at. So to say, oh, it doesn't have an impact, oh, it does have an impact on the person. It may change the way they talk, you know. Like, it's just reality. It is what it is, you know. I may not talk the same way that I talk, let's say, when I'm around my professors, you know, or people in academia, that I would talk, let's say, on the street with somebody. You know, two totally different dialects. But to say that, oh, I changed, or I'm acting fake, or I'm superficial, like, no, I just know how to adapt to my surroundings and my situation in which I'm in. And I feel like, why are black men so intimidated? Like, why? That can be a huge problem in a relationship. And to that point, when you have people who look at intellectuals, so to speak, or people who are educated, because the two really are different. I mean, like I said, you can be an intellectual without having a degree, but sometimes people want to make the two synonymous to each other. And if you, like, people who conceptualize these people who are successful in a certain light, right? And you start to feel a certain way because, let's say, you don't have that. Nicholas says that's a plus. But let's say you don't have that degree of success, whether it's education or money or whatever, however you define success. You're going to feel some kind of way when you're around people who do have it. And because you feel this insecurity around these people who do have it, those people who do have it are going to pick up on that. You know, just like I picked up on that with him in the conversation I had with him. And this is just online. I'm kind of getting a sense that, number one, you don't have a degree, so you feel some kind of way because I have a couple degrees. And it's not that I'm not the one to throw up in nobody's face, but I shared it on my page just to motivate myself. And if you feel some kind of way about that, then you should not be following my page. Why follow a person's page if you don't like positive things that they share? Because that's the majority of what I share on my page. It's positivity, and it's me achieving my goals. So if you got a problem with that, please unfriend yourself from my page. Unlike my page. It makes no sense. Even in my class, like one of my colleagues was like, oh, are you one of the YouTubers that just want to paint this picture-perfect picture of yourself, like you have the perfect life and da-da-da-da? And it's like, why do people feel intimidated about another person's success? It's not that a person is being superficial. If they are presenting things like their achievements or different happy moments that they have, like, why does that bother you so much? That's, to me, what concerns me. No one's life is perfect, and y'all will see that I do post things that happen to me that are bad, that are discouraging, that are disappointing. I share those things too, but for the most part, I share positive stuff. And that's what you guys are going to get. Now, if you have an issue with that, if it makes you feel some kind of way, my page is not the one to follow. And it's like, okay, no reason, no surprise why you have people who are successful who choose not to be friends with people who are, let's say, less successful, so to speak. Because all of this judgment, all of this insecurity, like, that can break up any friendship. And it's not that the people who are so-called successful want to sit up here and treat the people, let's say, who are less successful, for lack of a better expression, any differently. Is they perceive themselves differently in comparison to these people. It has to, because I'm like, come on. Every other person that commented on my post was like, congratulations. You know, that's what's up. Keep going. You know, give me my props. And then this jackass want to comment and be like, oh, don't let it define you. And he went on and talking about how, oh, it's a bad thing because of classism, and it makes people form these superficial identities, and it impacts the people that they become friends with, where basically saying that they're closed off to having friendships with people, you know, based on their superficiality. And I'm like, dude, you ain't making no goddamn sense. And how does this apply to me? Like, how can you make this assumption towards me based on what evidence? You don't even know me just based on the fact that I talked about my degrees that I've earned. Like, that, it still don't make no sense. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? In a way, it does kind of make sense, because his ass, only way I can interpret it is that your ass is just intimidated. You intimidated by a black woman's success. That's what that shit is. And like I say, it's no surprise why you have people who are more successful. Not that they don't want to maintain friendships with people, let's say, are quote unquote at the bottom or whatever, however you want to define it. Which I myself consider myself at the bottom. Shit, I ain't made it yet. Somebody commented today, somebody, oh, you made it. I don't feel like I made it. I feel like I'm working towards making it, but I don't feel like, oh, I'm there. Yeah, I have arrived. Like, no. But yeah, it's a reason why people distance themselves. You know, not that they necessarily want to, but you got people in the hood that just be hating. And I spoke about this even in my most recent video about visiting my family. It's like, of course I love my family, but the last thing I want to do or to experience is being judged, you know, or, oh, you think you all of that because you in LA and you know, you working towards a PhD. It's like, just because they didn't go to college or they're not college educated, like, that's the issue that I have. It's like, well, goddamn, For a black person, you are damned if you do and you damned if you don't. If you don't go to college, if you don't make shit of yourself, you're going to be damned. And if you do, you still going to be damned. So you know what? I'd rather be damned than be well off than sit and be damned and be fucking broke. Y'all can say what the hell y'all want to say about me. But hey, yes, it's going to impact your social circle because those people who don't have what you have, they feel intimidated. That's the only reason why a person's social circle changed. And people say, oh, that person changed. No, they didn't. Your perception of them has changed. Because I guarantee you, if you, despite the fact they have a PhD or an MD or live in a suburb, have, a sizable bank account, despite all of that, I guarantee you, if you are a person that's still kind of living a regular life, 9 to 5, regular Joe Schmo, but you still treat them the same way, despite all these accolades and credibility that they have, still treat that person the same way, the same person that you knew them growing up or from back when, I guarantee you they still gonna be the same. But if you looking at them like, oh, look at you, bougie, and like your whole conceptualization of who this person is, just based on what they have, that is going to influence how they respond to you. It is in that person's DNA, normally from their upbringing, jealousy and envy. No man should be intimidated by any woman and her success. You shouldn't. It's like, to me, that offends me when people express jealousy. Like, do you not know how hard it has been for me to get where I am, and for another motherfucker to be so-called jealous of what I had? You ain't got any shit to be jealous of. To be honest, I ain't make it. Hell, I see myself, I'm still at the bottom. I'm still struggling. And even when I do make it, like, dude, anybody, if you work hard, we all can make it. We all work together, I help other people. It's like not coming in this thing together. Like, I reach out and I give back to my community. That's the reason why I created Ubawa. UBAWA. Go check it out for you guys who don't know. I do those services for free. I give back to my community, man, because I only want to see the best for all of us. But the last thing I want to do is be around people who, just because their chosen path was not to pursue a doctorate degree, I don't need them to be like, oh, you think you better? Like, where is this coming from? Because I don't treat them like I'm better. I may talk differently and do things differently because, yes, like I said, there's no way that I can be in school for this number of years and it hasn't had an impact on me. So, of course, I may do things differently. I may eat differently, whatever. But that don't mean that I think I'm better than you. That's your interpretation, just because of those things I do differently. Because I may eat at different places than you, shop differently, or whatever, talk differently, that you think I'm better. You think that. I never think that I'm better. And I wanted to see the same guy who wants to sit up here and comment on my post. I bet you for him to say, oh, this whole thing about classism, this superficiality of identities based on education or credibility, saying that it impacts who we become friends with, and we end up missing, I guess, good, authentic relationships because we have this false ideal of who we should affiliate ourselves with. And I said, by the way, I choose to affiliate myself with who the hell I choose to affiliate myself with. No one can dictate that. But I guarantee you, his ass ain't got no homeless friends. So while he may not be at the top, I'm sure whatever position he is in society, I'm sure his ass ain't got no homeless friends. So for him to want to preach against this idea of classism based on capitalism, I guarantee you, he don't even practice what he preached. Because if he did, and he wanted to sit up here and be this advocate against capitalism and classism, then that would mean that you would have some friends, some homeless friends. You'll be walking hand in hand with homeless friends, and you don't. So we all buy into the system of capitalism and classism. Like, come on, we hang around people who are like us. That's natural. That's only natural for you to be gravitating towards people who do the same things you do, who talk the way you talk, who have the same interests as you. And so why, I felt like he was attacking me on the post. Like, he coming down on me when dude, I'm happy for my success. Other people comment on my post and not happy, but you got a nerve to sit up here and be like, oh, you like trying to make me feel guilty? As if, oh, that's just an achievement. That is nothing. No, it's a lot. It means a lot to me, and it has shaped very much who I am, and it's going to shape the course of my direction of where I'm going. Guarantee you that. Even when I was talking to my professor who taught my intercultural process class my first year, and we was just kind of having side conversation, and she was saying how when we get our degrees and become licensed psychologists, like, it's really going to impact our earning potential, our income potential. Like, basically going to change our whole socioeconomic status. And we just like, dang, because of course that's a concern that a lot of students have, considering the investment, the amount of time, energy, money that we're investing towards this degree. This shit ain't no easy walk in the park. And so I think that was a concern that had popped up in class, and she responded to say that, yeah, it's going to change your earning potential. And of course, that's confident for us to hear, right? And just imagining what that actually is going to look like, literally, like, what does that look like for our earning potential to change? And she was like, and I think somebody asked us, like, okay, so what kind of income? And she was like, yeah, above 6 figures, like well into 6 figures. And we just like, damn, okay. Like, that's what we want to hear, you know, because this is an investment. And just thinking about what that actually looks like to be making 6 figures a year, I mean, that's a big deal, considering I haven't made 6 figures, you know. But it's not to say that, oh, you have to go to school and get a PhD to make 6 figures. You got people that ain't never stepped foot in no college and making millions. So I'm not here to say, oh, you have to go to school to become successful. Like, that's not me. That's just my chosen path. And I chose school because, number one, I love education. So for him to say, oh, it don't define you, duh. I know who I was before I even started to go to school. I always been smart. I always been wise. I always been the type to want to be, you know, curious about things and to be challenged. Like, that's just who I always been before I even stepped foot into school. Talk to my mom and dad. They will tell you. And I feel like me going to school, that speaks to who I am as a person, which he totally missed. I'm like, come on, dude. The fact that I'm able to earn a bachelor's and master's and over halfway complete with my PhD, that says a lot about my person, my character. It takes a lot. Even my dad, he mentioned that. It was like, it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of shit to get this PhD. It's not easy. And some people think it is, like, oh, you just pay that money and give you a piece of paper. Hell no. They put us through the ringer, and y'all can go back and watch my videos about the different challenges I faced at this goddamn predominantly white institution. It's not easy, but I'm going to make it and I'm going to get through it. So I say that to say, I mean, y'all can feel free to make your comments below. Share your perspective on this topic. I'm sure people have a difference of opinion, you know, and I think that that's what it is people's perception of people who have money or success or education. And if your perception just stay the same, you don't look at all of that, just look at them as a person, then that would make it more natural. That would make them more likely to respond to you as if they just a regular human being. But if you put them on a pedestal and be like, oh, you fancy, huh? Then of course they're gonna probably become defensive, and you might get a number of different reactions, you know? That ain't what you want. So stop putting people on this high pedestal. Treat them as a regular human being, and they're going to respond to you as such. But it does bother me that you have men that are so intimidated by it. I think you need to invite him to your live. No, I already blocked him. So he can probably see my live videos, but he can't comment. He can't interact with it. No, because nah, man. Maybe I should, and maybe I should have delved deeper to see maybe where. But I think the reason why I put a block there and I drew the line, because I don't like when people make assumptions about me. Like, don't sit up here and accuse me of stuff. That's one quick way for me to shut you down completely and for me to just shut down the conversation. Because I was in a conversation with him and trying to see his perspective, but at the same time, like, he was persistent on trying to put me in this box as if like, oh, I think I'm this, so I only choose people that have, degrees. And it's just like, no. I talk to all kind of people. That's not even something, that's very, yes, it is superficial, like the word he used, superficial. Yes, it is superficial in that sense, to say, oh, you only want to have friends or be friends with somebody who has a degree, or date someone who has a PhD. Like, I never thought that way. Are you crazy? But when it comes to, yes, financial stability, which I don't think is superficial, but maybe in his perspective, because he mentioned classism, and he was kind of speaking against classism and capitalism. Maybe in his perspective that's a negative thing, but I'm like, you know what? Financial stability is important. I don't care what y'all say about that. A person, yes, a guy who I'm considering to make a family with and have kids and build the future with, yes, it does matter that he is financially stable and financially fit. And that's my preference, and nobody is going to change that. I'm sure there are very good, strong men out there who probably make less than $20K a year, but that's just not my interest. Sorry. And then, first of all, why am I even apologizing? I should not have to apologize. But people get offended when I say that. When I've said this numerous of times, and then people are like, oh, you a gold digger, or you fake, you super fit. No, that's just me. That's just me. And like I said, I think that to that response, guys, they do become intimidated by that, because they're like, well, damn, I don't measure up. It's like, come on, man. You ain't got to be no millionaire. Like, I think men think they just got to fucking be perfect. No, you don't. The guys I dated were nowhere near perfect, nowhere near millionaires. If anything, I would say they was average men. The average kind of guy. So that's, I think, people's misperception of Danielle, because just because I make a post about working towards a doctorate, oh, she thinks she, but you don't even take the time to get to know me first before you go to assume. Because if you did, then you would see that every single guy I dated in my past, they are average Joes. Now, they are great men, very special guys, but they still, by society's definition, are kind of, average. And they don't have a desire to go to school. Totally opposite from me. Never had a desire to really go to school and get a degree and all of that, They just do their own thing. One of them was actually from a military. Other one, he worked a regular 9-to-5 job, and so did the other one. So, where y'all getting this from? Please inform me. But I find it quite interesting, because considering I'm just a student. I'm just a fucking student. I'm not balling. And I'm like, if people got this perception of me now, well, damn, I hate to see what it's going to be like once I get licensed. And once I do make it there to the top, so to speak, I would hate to see that. People got this perception of me now. I mean, to me, it's kind of sad. It's discouraging. Because it's people from my own community that I would think would want to support me and encourage me as I do them and uplift me. But no. They are like trying to pull me down and make me feel bad for my success. And yes, that to me is very hurtful. And considering that, like I say, I'm not even at the top, I'm fighting to get there, just like we all are. And shit, I don't even want to see what that's like when I do get there. It's sad, but it makes sense to me though that the black people who do so-called make it out the hood or whatever, and are well off. I'm just trying to get over this cold too, y'all. I got a cold yesterday, and I had a fever all last night. I know that shit had to be like 110, because I was really hot. My body fighting this cold, so I think it's hot, like halfway out my body, so hopefully it'll go away. But yeah, I can kind of understand why people who, when they make it out the hood and they go off and they live in the suburb and they associate themselves with other people who are like them. Other black people who are successful, have decent incomes, and living a life, because it's just like the people who aren't, it's too much negativity, man. Too much backbiting, jealousy, and nobody don't need that, considering how hard it took, to get there, and even to maintain it. It's even more work to maintain that shit. So, like, we gotta stop this, man. And especially black men, come on now. How can you feel intimidated just because you don't have a degree, but you got the income? Every guy I dated made more money than me. Because for the most part, I've been in school. So ain't no reason why they should be intimidated by my ass. When, yes, I have the education, but that's just by societal education, societal's definition of what educated means. You don't have to go to school to be educated. You can be very smart, and that's what I meant by, intellectuals regardless of education, because my ex from Brooklyn, he was an intellectual, but his ass not educated. He's not college educated, but he was very smart. He put me up on game when it comes to black identity and Pan-Africanism. Like, he put me up on game in that whole thing. I even said how he, like, having discussions with him, we would have long talks about that kind of stuff, and that kind of inspired my research on black identity and enculturation. He put me up on that, and this man don't have no bit of school. So y'all need to stop that shit. Just stop it. But even speaking about him, though, interesting enough, because I was talking to my professor in family systems, and I was telling him, we was talking about like changes or shifts within the family system, and how one change can impact the whole system. And so I was saying how, we moved out here, and I started my PhD, and a year later, we separated. Now, whether me working towards my PhD maybe contributed to that, I don't know. But I say that's one hypothesis, because I don't know. I don't know how he saw me, after I started working towards my PhD, and just really dedicated and putting in a lot of time and attention towards that goal of mine, But I just know things in our relationship changed. Our dynamic changed, and whatever. We kind of grew apart. So it happens like that, But I really, like I said, I think it's more so people's perception of that person. And even if it is that person partly who changes, then as long as it's for the better, why do people have to hate on that? If the person trying to better their life, why is that a problem? Why? But hey, I can go on and on. I'm not. That's pretty much what I have to say. Thanks to the guy who had this conversation with me, because it inspired this video topic. But yeah, I wonder, y'all let me know. Comment below and share your thoughts on why are black men so intimidated by black women's success when you shouldn't be. Why? Talk to her. Figure out what the hell it took for her to get there. And I don't think you would be so intimidated. Or maybe you would be. I don't know. But you should be intimidated by it. That person is still who they are at the core. But it makes no sense to me. It really don't. And even, I'm going to say this and I'm going to end this video. Even in my class, in my consultation class that I'm taking, we was talking about just like doing research in certain communities, and how certain communities are very resistant to researchers coming in and doing research on them, because they just feel like those researchers come in and just take from them. They don't really give back. And then I brought up the point to say how it's sometimes even difficult being a black person, like a black researcher, and even going to the black community, because we're talking about, like I said, how these certain communities, specifically African American communities, are resistant to, let's say, white researchers coming in and doing research. And I was like, yeah, even being a black researcher coming into a black community, sometimes it's difficult because they look at you in a certain light. They're like, oh, you a doctor, you talk a certain ways, like they don't trust you, and they think that they associate your education and your demeanor with the white people. And they think like, oh, you're a part of the system, so no, we ain't about to give you no information. You on their side. Even though my skin color is black, my hair nappy as fuck, I come from the hood myself, they just like, nah, who is she? We don't want to trust her because she sound like she talk kind of white. She got those letters behind her name. We don't trust her. So I kind of brought that issue up in my class, and my professor's like, yeah, that's definitely a valid point. That's a reality, and it's sad. It's sad that it has to be that way, but it does speak to something that I think as black people, black researchers, professors, doctors, and academia is something that we should take note of, because we should always be connected to our community. And whatever that means and whatever it takes to stay connected, then we have to do that, which I always make a conscious effort in doing so, to not be like, okay, I'm so much into academia and in certain social circles that I'm so far removed from the hood which I come from. But it is a challenge. It's almost like having multiple identities. I mean, this is just reality. Some people probably ain't gonna talk about it, this openly, but I'm keeping it real. And it can be hard. It's like being bicultural, being biracial, but you have to have this identity in one social circle, and then you transform and have a totally different identity because you're around a totally different group of people who speak a different kind of language. It's still English, but it's a different dialect of English, different mannerisms, everything is different. So you have to adapt and adjust accordingly, and yeah, it's a challenge. But my professor, he brought up this research, I forget the researcher, that she's doing on shifting in the house. Difficult for black women to they be having to shift basically their language and how they speak depending on the social circle in which they are in, and saying how that shifting creates anxiety, which could present itself as a clinically significant disorder, right? And I'm like, But I think it's something that happens on a subconscious level. So it's not that, you have to put so much conscious effort or energy into shifting to adapt to one's environment. It's something that naturally happens, I swear, because I don't think about it, I shift, and I think that it's not just something African American women do. It's something that we all do. Everybody shifts. When you on your job, you one way on your job than you are with your family, your wife, your husband, your partner, your kids. You just totally different. You may be one way with your homeboys than you are with your female friends, or vice versa. So we all shift. And I don't think it necessarily takes that much effort or energy to do so. It's something that naturally happens. But hey, that's all I got to say. Thank you guys for tuning in. Guess it is still frustrating because although I know who I am. I very much know who I am as a person. And I appreciate my own growth and success and development. But just to see people's reactions to my success and me climbing, I guess it's valid, not that I can totally dismiss what they're saying, because, I see myself and I live in myself in my body every single day, right? So I may say, well, I don't talk differently or I don't change because I'm in my own body. But for someone from the outside looking in, they can probably see those minute differences in my demeanor, my, language expression. Even somebody on my YouTube video the other day was like, oh, you talk like a valley girl. And I'm like, I don't think I talk like no goddamn valley girl. Hell no. And the valley girls are like the white girls out here in LA, right? And I'm just like, I feel like I've been talking like this. If you look at my earlier videos when I first started YouTube back in 2011, I was talking the same way. And I feel like I still talk the same way, but maybe they know something that I don't. And I think that speaks to the black community's desire to pull us back, right? And some people look at this as like the crab in the barrel mentality, but I don't know necessarily if it's so much the crab in the barrel, mentality as it is. Just people, they want black people just to stay black, so to speak. They don't want us to leave our true identity, you know, or abandon our true identity and become something else that we're not. They want us to just stay true to who we are. But they don't realize that, like I was trying to tell Dude, because he was like, oh, that your education doesn't define you. And I'm like, okay, you may have a point, but at the same time, it shaped me. And he even denied that to say, oh, no, it doesn't. Like, no, motherfucker, it shaped my ass, okay? Accept that. You may not like it, but it has shaped me, and it is what it is. And getting a license and becoming a doctor, that's definitely going to shape me, and everything is going to influence who I hang around. And I already talked about this in the video, so it makes perfect sense. Why, from the outside looking in, some people may say, oh, well, you're changing. It's just like, what do y'all want me to do? That's a challenge there, I guess, you know? I find myself making every effort to stay true to who I am, to my identity, you know? But y'all let me know. Let me know. And I know y'all ain't gonna hold back. Y'all always let me know anyway, so... That's it, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. And why am I wearing this freaking hot ass? I ain't gonna get naked on camera for y'all. But hey, I'm about to go. I'll catch you guys later. Love you guys. Bye.